Okay, Paul here in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Today's YouTube vlog is on Barcelona's in extremis 2-1 win over Leganes at the Camp Nou last night. So, this was a really difficult night for Barca. They had to raise themselves, or at least try to, after the emphatic thrashing they took at the hands of PSG there last week, and they still look a bit melancholic and forlorn after that St. Valentine's night humbling. So, I mean, you know, Barca were very close to not only drawing the game, but they could have potentially even lost to a relegation threatened side who they beat 5-1 away from home back in September. So that just goes to show how, you know, the level of the extent to which confidence was hit by the PSG defeat. It's like it's provoked this existential identity crisis at Barca now, and you know, in their defence, it is very hard to raise yourself after such a difficult game in the Champions League, when you know, look, they're definitely going out. Especially after last night's game, there's just no way you're going to see them overturning the PSG thing. You know, I think PSG could even come and get a draw at the Camp Nou. They're so strong right now. So that's provoked this depression and sort of abyss at Barca last night, and you could sense it, you could feel it all around the Camp Nou. It was reflected possibly most tellingly in Messi. You know, hell had no fury like a moody Messi, and he didn't even celebrate his 2 goals, just almost out of, you know, just to show how sullen and how disappointed he is with the current state of affairs. So yeah, let's move on with the Barca 11 to get on with the game then. So, Ter Stegen in goal, 4-man defence of Sergio Roberto, Umtiti, Mathieu, Jordi Alba, 3-man midfield of Rakitic, Andre Gomez and Denis Suarez, and the front 3, which names itself MSN, Messi, Suarez, Neymar. And you know, I think that's something that needs to be spoken about as well. I think the front 3 are starting to look particularly jaded. Never mind the midfield for a minute, because they've played like nearly every single game when they haven't been either suspended or injured, and I definitely think they need to start bringing in Paco Alcacer a bit more, Arda Turan, and giving some of that front 3 a break, and just trusting a bit more in the midfield to score some goals. Iniesta, now that he's coming back to fitness, will hopefully be able to, well, he doesn't actually score that much, but provide at least and create more of a creative outlet for the likes of Dennis to chip in maybe. So yeah, so Barca actually took the lead inside 3 minutes through Suarez setting up Messi, and it looked like it might actually rain goals at the Camp Nou and that the PSG defeat might be forgotten, but that very much wasn't to be the case, because Leganes really seemed to be buoyed by Barca's depression, and they really came at them. And you know, Ter Stegen was called into action on 4 or 5 occasions, had to make some really good saves. You know, and Barca really struggled to find their passing rhythm. Obviously, as has been said umpteen times on these vlogs, without either an Iniesta or Busquets in the starting lineup, the Barca midfield these days is a complete oasis. You know, and that proved to be the case yet again yesterday. Andre Gomez had another particularly poor game. He was whistled when he came off for Iniesta in the second half. You know, Luis Enrique is sticking by him, playing him despite his poor form and despite the fact that he really hasn't shown or proven worthy of a starting place yet. So that's becoming a real issue at Can Barca. So yeah, as I said, Leganes really stuck in there and could sense that they could get something out of this game, and sure enough they did get a goal through Unai Lopez, albeit it was almost a gift from Barca. Sergio Roberto yet again with, you know, a fairly basic concentration / confidence mistake. So he was given, it must be said, a kind of risque pass by Ter Stegen, but after that he could have dealt with it better, or even just put it into, just got rid of it, rose ed, as the cliche goes. But the Leganes players got on top of him, intercepted him, and Unai Lopez ended up getting the goal. 1-1 on 71 minutes, and the whistle started raining around and reverberating around the Camp Nou. Iniesta was brought on, called into action. Who else came on then? We had Rafinha come on. Rafinha, you know, did have a nice moment actually, where he almost got a penalty, dribbled into the box, but I'm not overly convinced by Rafinha. I was only thinking to myself last night, he's very much the less gifted of the Alcantara brothers, we can say that, because when you look at Thiago Alcantara, what he's doing at Bayern, and Rafinha, I'm not at all convinced by him, I gotta say. So yeah, Barca huffed and puffed, and they did then get a penalty. I must say, this penalty has been some talking points. A couple of Leganes players came out afterwards intimating that Neymar had dived. Not a bit of it for me, Jeff. I think it's a clear stonewall penalty. Neymar is clearly impeded and he goes down, and Messi stepped up then to take the penalty, and the way he thrashed at the ball so insolently was really telling. I think then he sulked. He didn't want to celebrate because he looked so pissed off and angry with what's happening. And Piqué's face was also a picture on the bench. The camera flashed to Piqué and he looked, just the concern was writ large all over his face. There's some real worry around Barca now. I think they might have been thinking about with PSG's visit in 10 days time or whatever it is, because there's just really no chance. There's all this, Suarez is talking about making history and making it a 5-0. It's look, you got to believe, they got to provoke this rhetoric and discourse, but it's not going to happen, and it could be a really bad night when PSG come. I think PSG will comfortably, they might lose by a goal at most, but maybe even 2, but I think they'll actually score at the Camp Nou, just because Barca looks so shaky right now in defence and all over the pitch really. Yeah, a few players talked about the whistles after the game. Luis Enrique said he understands it. Ter Stegen, being a forthright German, said he doesn't understand the whistles, but you should know by now that that's the culture at the top Spanish teams. The hankies come out when the team isn't doing well. So yeah, that was a really, really tough night for Barca. Messi stepping up with that penalty, and I think a lot of Barca fans had their hearts in their mouths when it was him, because he hasn't got the best penalty record, and given how poor he's kind of been playing of lately, particularly at PSG there the other night. But Barca got the 3 points to kind of paper over the cracks a little bit, but the fans can see, the media can see now that all is really not right. The players can even see it, and it's going to be an interesting few weeks, particularly when PSG come to town. So, muchas gracias. Thank you very much for watching this La Liga vlog on Barca's in extremis 2-1 win over Leganes. I'll leave it there. Please do subscribe to the channel for lots of more content coming up this week. We've got the Champions League last 16 next games coming up, and yeah, I'll be chatting to you for that. All the best. Hasta luego. Ciao.